Google is scrapping its diversity hiring targets and reviewing its diversity, equity and inclusion programs. We are talking DEI. This is the headline in the Wall Street Journal, and it's a big deal for another big company. The move aligns with tech giants and other Silicon Valley firms reassessing their DEI commitments. The decision comes after a previously set goal in 2020 to boost leadership representation of underrepresented groups that's now been dropped. Now, despite these changes, Google assures that it will maintain resource groups for underrepresented employees and also continue expanding offices in diverse areas. Veronica, I guess the issue with this topic is it feels so political. It feels like when one party's in, all these big companies try and say, yes, 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 we really care. And then when another party's in, they say, oh, no, we're not really into it anymore. In fact, out it goes. And we might even get our CEO to turn up to the inauguration of the president. Here's a question. If Kamala Harris had won the election, do you think that these big companies like Google and others that we have seen, Walmart too, Target, would be ending their DEI programs the same way that we've seen them do under Trump?
Probably not, and for what would be the reason to reverse and to make these announcements. It would be fascinating to try to talk to the heads of these companies and to say, what are your hiring practices? Is it based on merit? Do you want the best engineers out there to try to put together these programs and to work for you or not? That's the question. And so now we're seeing, as you mentioned, this reversal. And it's unfortunate for not only Americans, but I think all citizens around the world. As you mentioned, they feel very much kind of like a ping pong going back and forth, depending on which administration, which party is the one in power, that's
exactly my point. It feels just so unfair for the innocent people who are, if you think about the people that DEI is trying to help, and regardless of your viewpoints on whether DEI should even exist in the first place, anything which is trying to help somebody, there is some merit to it, even if there is a broader debate about the impact that that has on others as well. And you feel for those people, you have to, just as we feel for the white male who gets overlooked as well. It's not that we choose one side or another, it's just troubling that politics can have such a massive impact on companies, or that companies essentially try and curry favor with administrations. But I guess that probably is nothing new. It's just that we have the means to talk about it and to notice these things in greater detail. Or is it something new? Is this, you've been around as long as I have as a journalist looking at these sorts of things. When things went from, say, Clinton to Bush in 2000, when it went from Bush to Obama, did we see companies react the same way they have over the past few months?
Well, I think when you look at this specific issue, because people were just practically racing each other to get to the forefront or to get in front of a camera to say that they were going to be having these DEI initiatives and, that they want to be fair. And so they made it a point. These companies, worked very hard and put together public relation campaigns and videos, and they wanted to kind of shove it down everyone's throat to say that they were doing it. And then now, as you said, yes, it's a complete reversal and they're backpedaling. So maybe if they didn't try to get that media attention, we wouldn't be talking about it. Is it new? I think with social media, people are able to have these conversations, because if you think about it, during the Clinton era and the Bush era, it was, we didn't see social media. So you had to rely on newspapers and you had to rely on that evening news. And so now with streaming, a lot of regular people can watch these press conferences. So people can watch Apple, in June when they have their big announcements. So people have access to information that they didn't before, and they can see with their own eyes and certainly be making, forming their own opinions too about what they're saying.
Yeah, and one of the opinions I've heard over recent days as well is it really all began with the murder of George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter, which sparked a lot of corporations that were falling over themselves to announce diversity policies to try and prevent similar incidents happening again and to try and help people in more diverse communities as well. The question is whether that was a legitimate care or, again, being seen to be doing something without putting enough thought into it. What are your views on that?
For sure. Is it exploitation or not? In the long run, was this successful? Obviously, in the U.S., we have seen through the years with, the civil rights movement, of course, with having more females in the workplace. So it's not something new, in talking about some of these groups, just to level the playing field and to say, what's going on. But, it's really interesting now. We are such a global world in that, people are constantly moving around, and, we have a lot of diversity. And so how does this factor into the hiring practice moving forward? And also, that company culture, it will be interesting to see now with some of these reversals. Now we're seeing Google, we've seen others, kind of what it's going to be like moving forward. It will be interesting to see.
Yeah, and also you really touched on a great point, just to finish up, about workplaces are naturally more diverse. If you think about Silicon Valley, where there was quite often a left-leaning agenda to be able to hire more people of diverse backgrounds. Well, if you go through Silicon Valley, you do see a lot of software engineers who are immigrants from countries like India, for example, because they love and have massive education systems based on software development. And when these companies scale up, they needed people all of a sudden, and they would take them from anywhere. They would take them from everywhere. It wasn't so much about trying to force people to fit within a box, to tick a box, but rather naturally it happened because there was a requirement and a fulfillment as well. Anyway, we better leave it there. Veronica Dudo, host of In America Today, thanks for joining us as always.
Thanks.